Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a fascinating journey into the mind, the golf course, and the very core of ancient philosophy. We're unpacking William B. Irvine's brilliant book, A Guide to the Good Life, The Ancient Art of Stoic Joy. We're going to use the incredibly frustrating game of golf, complete with a very wise, club-wielding Stoic, to understand exactly how ancient strategies can absolutely crush the modern self-help obsession with positive thinking. So, if you've ever felt like forcing yourself to be positive just isn't working, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. We've all been that golfer having an absolute meltdown over a bad shot, haven't we? From the time we're kids, we are constantly told to just think positive. But if you look a little closer, especially when dealing with the unpredictable realities of life, or, an 18-hole round of golf, positive thinking can actually do way more harm than good. Why? Because you're almost guaranteed to be the victim of misfortune at some point. A bad bounce, a sudden gust of wind, imperfect turf. Life, much like golf, is fundamentally unfair. Now, it's super easy to be positive when the sun is shining and everything is going your way. We trick ourselves into concluding that positive thinking works. But when those inevitable tough challenges pop up, that forced positivity turns out to be a total lie. Because, quite frankly, bad stuff happens. In fact, relying solely on positive thinking might literally be a recipe for a much less joyful life.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the positive thinking trap, move into internalizing your goals, and then look at handling insults and anger. After that, we'll explore the power of negative contemplation, and finally, wrap up with the path to stoic joy.
Section 1. The Positive Thinking Trap. Staying upbeat is an absolute breeze under good circumstances. But when a difficult situation hits, the limits of positive thinking are instantly exposed. The Stoics understood this limitation perfectly. Consider this quote. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. Misfortune weighs most heavily on those who expect nothing but good fortune. This is absolutely profound. Think about it. If you go into a golf shot, a big business meeting, or even a family holiday expecting absolutely nothing but good fortune, you are setting a massive trap for yourself. When you lean entirely on positive expectations and the result ends up not being positive, your tranquility isn't just disturbed, it's shattered. Let's compare the two mindsets. A pure positive thinking approach dictates that you fully expect your ball to land perfectly close to the flag. But is it definitely going to land close? No way. The Stoic approach, however, involves contemplating, on some level, the very real possibility that a perfect landing is not guaranteed. Now, actually, scratch that. It doesn't mean you visualize a terrible shot that might actually cause one. It just means you acknowledge the reality that things might not go perfectly. By doing this, you're taking a preventative measure. If the ball flies off into the woods, your peace of mind is far less disturbed because you perceived that possibility beforehand. You've essentially cushioned the blow of misfortune simply by being realistic. Moving right along to Section 2, internalizing your goals. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is if we shouldn't rely on positive expectations because we can't control the outcome of the shot, what on earth should we be focusing our energy on instead? Well, the Stoics would point out that setting a goal to land the ball right next to the flag is actually useless because you're not in complete control of that goal. The wind, the turf, a random bird flying by, these are external factors. If you attach your happiness to external goals, like where the ball lands, your opponent's opinions, or chasing external validation like showing off a fancy Rolex watch, your tranquility will constantly be disturbed. The brilliant Stoic pivot here is to internalize your goals. You shift your focus entirely to internal goals. These are the things you have complete control over: your attitude, your routine, trusting your process, and your emotional acceptance of the situation. Let's break that down into an actionable routine. Step 1, set a goal to take 2 focused practice swings. You control that. Step 2, trust those swings to do the job during the actual shot. You completely control that mental trust. And step 3, which is absolutely crucial, accept the outcome before it has even occurred. See what's happening here? You're focusing all your attention on the process rather than the outcome. If you hit the ball and it goes straight into a sand trap, well, you've already accepted it. You've achieved your internal goal of executing your routine, so your tranquility remains perfectly intact. Section 3, handling insults and anger. Of course, staying tranquil isn't always easy, especially when other people get involved. Imagine you hit that ball, and it lands so far away from the flag that your opponent sneers and suggests your ball just landed in a different postcode. Your immediate instinct might be to throw your club down on the fairway, or maybe imagine wrapping it around your opponent's head. But the Stoics tell us that reacting with anger is like drinking poison and expecting your worst enemy to die from it. What an incredible analogy, right? You don't have complete control over your shot, and you definitely don't control your opponent's opinion of you. Therefore, throwing your club serves absolutely no purpose. Venting your anger only compounds the negative influence those circumstances are having on your peace of mind. You're literally just poisoning your own tranquility while your opponent watches.
So how does a Stoic react instead? First, you can simply ignore the insult. Remind yourself that this guy insulting you isn't exactly a professional champion like Danny Willett, so who cares what he thinks? Alternatively, and this is the really fun one, respond with self-deprecating humor. When they say your ball landed in a different postcode, you agree and say, more like a different time zone. By agreeing and leaning into the joke, you show you're confident enough to rise completely above their verbal fisticuffs. You strip their words of any weight, and ironically, by showing how little you care, you actually take all the power away from your opponent.
Let's move to section 4 and see how this builds into our everyday lives, the power of negative contemplation. These Stoic tools are far too valuable to leave on the golf course. They apply to the very core of our daily lives. So what is negative contemplation? It's the practice of periodically contemplating a bad outcome or the loss of something you hold dear. Now wait a second, doesn't this sound incredibly depressing? Actually, the source text reveals it's the exact opposite. It's a strategy designed to increase joy, satisfaction, and fundamentally contribute to the good life. It's not about obsessively visualizing terrible things happening. It's about deeply recognizing the impermanence of life. Everything in life is perishable. By acknowledging this, we literally wake ourselves up to the incredible value of what we currently have. To really grasp this concept, we have to confront inevitable last times. If you're a parent, think about this. There will be a last time you make a meal for your children. There will be a last time they fall asleep in your arms. A last time you get to walk them to school or pack their lunchbox. It's heavy, isn't it? But the Stoics ask us to periodically contemplate this loss, not to make us sad, but to make us immensely grateful for the present moment. And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world difference. A distracted parent who never contemplates the impermanence of their family is much more likely to have their eyes glued to Facebook on a smartphone, getting angry at totally insignificant events. But an engaged parent who actually practices negative contemplation, they look up from their phone. When you realize that packing this lunchbox is a perishable privilege that will one day end, you stop taking it for granted. You interact with your children and you fully experience the remarkable moment right in front of your eyes. The contemplation of loss actually creates immense presence and joy. Bringing it all home, Section 5, the path to Stoic joy. We've seen how to handle golf course disasters and how to cherish our families. So how do we tie this all together into a daily mental framework? Well, the key is to stop getting caught up in the confusing labels of positive, neutral, or negative thinking. Instead, try judging your thoughts simply as helpful or unhelpful in that specific moment. Wanting to impress others with external stuff, like a flashy Rolex watch? Completely unhelpful. It serves absolutely no purpose on the road to the good life, just like caring about an opponent's opinion of your golf swing. But what is a helpful thought? When you feel yourself getting angry over a mistake, imagine that the exact same event just happened to somebody else. Instantly, it enables you to see just how insignificant the event really is. It shifts your perspective and totally protects your peace. So we arrive at the ultimate question. We've seen that blindly forcing positive thinking can shatter your tranquility when misfortune inevitably strikes. We've learned how internalizing your goals, utilizing self-deprecating humor, and practicing negative contemplation can radically transform your resilience and your gratitude. The tools are laid out right in front of you. If positive thinking is failing you, are you ready to let go of what you can't control and finally embrace the ancient art of Stoic joy? The choice, as the Stoics would say, is entirely yours.